Is this the place?
Yeah, we're here. Warehouse 101.
This place gives me the creeps.
I'm not surprised. This is where Blizzard put all of their absolute worst and most dangerous ideas. The rejects. The failed experiments. The abominations that they just want to forget ever existed. They lock them down here to rot for the rest of time.
Well, that sounds perfect. Where are we going to put this?
I think there's a bit of space just over here, in between the Diablo 3 auction house and Farallon.
Hello? Hello? Anyone there?
I think he's awake.
Oh, hey there, little buddy.
Hey, Mum and Dad, are we almost there yet? I'm so excited to see my big surprise.
Oh, yeah, little guy. We're almost there. You should just go back to sleep, okay?
I tried to sleep, but I'm just so excited. No one's done anything nice for me in years. I'm so happy. I love you, Mum and Dad.
Oh, that's great, little buddy. But don't forget, we're not your parents. That's Medivh and Garona.
Well, that doesn't sound very believable.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, we're gonna close the box now, okay? We'll let you know when we're there, I promise.
Okay, thank you so much. This is the best birthday ever.
Okay, we need to dump this somewhere and get out.
Yeah, I agree. There's a gap over here next to Titan.
Thank goodness.
There is much to be done.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the weekly reset. Just about 2 weeks worth of news to cover since our last episode, including whole new zones on the alpha, models, gameplay changes, player character changes, the lot. But I want to start today away from the alpha and instead talk literature. Because this week saw the release of the latest installment in the absolute definitive telling of the events of Warcraft of all time, and we definitely mean it this time, like no really this is it, this shit is set in stone from now on, Chronicle Volume 3. It's no secret that I love the Chronicle series because, well, for a start, I love its mission statement of collating the whole story of the Warcraft universe in one single source. That's really handy. I love how deadly serious and unrelenting they are because these are not novels. They are straight up history books really, and it's a history of never-ending war and death and misery and world-ending threats. There is no light relief here. And obviously I love the art that these things are chock full of, and they really are. Because I love maps. Fantasy maps are totally my thing, and not only are the Chronicle books full of them, they have also contained some of my flat-out favourite pictures of Warcraft ever, and Volume 3, if anything, is the best yet in this regard. But even that is not my favourite thing about Chronicle, and even if it were, come on, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that my favourite bit is the pictures, am I? No, the thing I've enjoyed most about the previous two Chronicle books is the light they have shed on things that were uncertain, and the hints that they have given as to where the game was going to go next. Because don't forget, Chronicle 1 came out just before Legion, and opened with the massive revelation that Azeroth is a Titan world soul, and you know, what is a Titan world soul, and how Sargeras created the Burning Legion to destroy all life in the universe, not just out of pure flame-beardy evilness, but because actually the Void Lords are the actual biggest bad there is, and he's basically very scared of them, which is fair enough. Which is massive by itself, obviously, but in hindsight also set up the ultimate turn into Titan territory that concluded Legion. Chronicle 2 went into the minutiae of the First and Second Wars, with plenty of juicy stuff, in particular on the history of Velen and the Draenei, and the Alliance expedition beyond the Dark Portal, just in time for patch 7.3 to launch a couple of months later, starring obviously Velen and Turalyon and Alleria. So the question is, does Chronicle 3 reach the same heights, and what hints might it be giving about what's coming in Battle for Azeroth? Well, firstly, the revelations. Quite simply, if you know the story of Warcraft 3 through Cataclysm, there aren't many major surprises here. Certainly not on the Azeroth is a Titan, Agramar-shaped life on Draenor level. Part of that is because of the time frame that it covers, which is much, much smaller than previous installments. Chronicles 1 and 2 covered the literal creation of the Warcraft universe, the birth of the Titans, the Black Empire, tens of thousands of years of history that was so threadbare previously that essentially anything it told us was new information. But by Chronicle 3, we've caught up to events that a majority of the players have actually experienced in-game. There's less scope for changes or reinterpretation because we've actually seen many of these events happen in front of us on screen. In fact, one of the most notable things in Chronicle 3 is a thing which isn't even in Chronicle 3. And yes, I'm talking about Medan. The 404 server error character has finally, officially been completely written out of the Warcraft canon, to the delight of just about everyone and the surprise of absolutely no one. Medan never happened. official. And look, maybe this is new to you and you're thinking, oh, who's Medan? Hey, he looks pretty cool in a half-orc starring in Saved by the Bell kind of way. I'd like to know more about him, but honestly, you think you do, but you don't. Like, maybe you watch Daddy's Home 2 and you think, hey, who's that Mel Gibson guy? I really like him. I think I'd like to find out more about him. But I promise you, sometimes the less you know about someone, the better, okay? And anyway, he might not officially be part of Warcraft anymore, but there's still a book that you can find Medan in, because his picture is in any dictionary under the entry for Mary Sue. But anyway, this change means that a fair chunk of story involving Garona, because Medan is Medivh and Garona's son, and seriously, I told you didn't want to know, and Shogal as well, has had to be essentially rewritten to paper over the Medan-shaped cracks, and this represents the single biggest revision in the book. The other big talking point from Chronicle is that, for the first time, it officially apportions credit for a number of in-game raids and dungeons, not just to vague heroes or champions, which is usually as far as the Warcraft literature is willing to go, but to specific factions. So if you're a long-time Alliance player and you remember clearing out Blackwing Lair in vanilla, well, I'm sorry, but you must be remembering wrong, because that was the Horde. That's canon, it says it right here, and to be honest, we always knew you were lying about that anyway, you know? This represents an interesting change of approach on Blizzard's part, who, when it comes to events and heroics that the player characters have performed, are usually as non-committal as possible. So it won't surprise you to learn that where they have given credit, it's a pretty straight 50-50 split between the raids for Horde and Alliance, and the really big ones like Ulduar and Black Temple and Ice Crown, they still go down as joint efforts. Still, it's a weird feeling to be told that actually I haven't had anything to do with Grimbator, when actually I only wish that was true. And likewise, there is something kind of thrilling about having events that we as players have played through and remember, like the Wrathgate, featured in this kind of heroic history book setting. It's really cool. And so lastly, what hints, if any, are there in Chronicle 3 that might point towards the action in battle for Azeroth? Well, one name keeps getting mentioned again and again. N'Zoth. He steps in to take official credit for an awful lot of stuff throughout Warcraft history, including pretty much everything in Cataclysm, and officially aligning the old god with Ashara, stuff we'd all kind of taken for granted for a while. But the fact that Chronicle goes out of its way to make N'Zoth's influence on these things so explicit really does suggest that N'Zoth is a name we might well be hearing more of next expansion, which is another thing that we'd all taken for granted too, but still.
And speaking of old gods in Battle for Azeroth, we've had a whole new zone added to the alpha this week, the Kul Tiras area of Stormsong Valley. Now look, I know we said this before, and I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to go ahead and say it again. But as far as zone design goes, Kul Tiras is shaping up to be maybe the best that this game has ever managed. The entire continent just feels real and lived in, and the kind of place that you genuinely want to explore in a way that's more like a single-player RPG than an MMO. And predictably, Stormsong Valley is stunning, in a kind of Nagrand meets Mists of Pandaria kind of way. And okay, so like the rest of Kul Tiras, the actual continent is pretty non-existent right now, with barely any quests or even mobs, really, and maybe the quests will turn out to be terrible and the zone will be trash, but as a map, it just feels great, and that's a pretty good start. So what's Stormsong Valley all about? Well, it's where the Storm Priests are based, who are responsible for blessing all the Kul Tiran ships before they are deployed, which is why the Kul Tiras Navy is so badass. And it turns out that the only thing Storm Priests love more than boats is tentacles, which isn't suspicious at all. That's a perfectly normal thing to be enthusiastic about, and you probably shouldn't worry about it at all. They just love tentacles, and you can tell by the very, very subtle hints all around the zone, like the tentacle candelabra, and tentacle light fittings, the tentacle graves, tentacle statues with added actual tentacles, tentacle fireplaces, tentacle flags, tentacle pearl holders, tentacle faces, tentacle faced friends, and there was something else. Oh yeah, the impossibly massive tentacle monster cliff fortress that takes up about a quarter of the zone. But like I say, who doesn't love tentacles, right? That's perfectly normal. I'm not the slightest bit suspicious. There's also a heavy horde presence in these luscious rolling hills too, because don't forget, Battle for Azeroth is an expansion which is all about the faction war, which is how I know that all those tentacles are perfectly innocent and not in the slightest bit old god related, because it's all about horde versus alliance, right? And this is where the horde will set up their outpost on Kul Tiras when they reach max level, even if it looks like they did a pretty bad job parking their ships. And here they are, already making themselves feel at home by launching a full-on assault on among one helpless town that Alliance players will come across pretty early on. Sylvanas has personally given orders that Brennadam is to be burned to the ground and has even sent one of her shiny new Azerite war machines to seal the deal. It's really cool, even if ordering the slaughter of a neutral civilian population probably isn't totally in keeping with the Horde hearts and minds effort. Yes, it's a dick move by the Horde, and some people are taking it as further proof that Blizz may be setting Sylvanas up for Garrosh-style expansion boss duty, but works both ways. Don't forget there are soldiers using trolls for target practice in Borealis. And that's about it for Stormsong Valley at the moment. I love that time's blood and wine style aesthetic. I love Windmill Town. It's another positively succulent Kul Tiras zone with exceptional design and layout, just waiting to be filled with cool stuff. Like maybe some of the new models that have cropped up in data mining recently. Perhaps this beautiful and vibrant setting is the perfect place to put some of these disgusting and terrifying sewn together pig monster people. Or maybe this living, breathing Akira spoiler. Or whatever this thing is. Or perhaps, how about nope? How about seriously just nope? What's wrong with you people? No. Instead, let's look at some nice things. Like the new Blood Elf customization. Because look, golden eyes. This is unexpected. I mean, it makes sense. The Blood Elves draw their power from the newly fresh and clean Sunwell these days rather than anything fell, so it makes sense that their eyes would change color to reflect that, because that's what elf eyes do, right? It's just a surprise that Blizzard have actually gotten around to including it as a genuine character customization option is all, but credit where it's due because it's a neat touch and it looks great. Does it have implications in the Great High Elf debate? This is not the time or place, but we are making that video. Oh, we are making that video.
And from a shiny gold surprise to the least surprising thing that's ever happened, because we got our first data mine models of the new Alliance Warfront armor sets this week too, and this is big news because we all remember those sets when they were shown off at BlizzCon, right? The Horde one, which is none more spiky, and that cloak on the Alliance guy. Because it is impossible to look at that flowing, tattered cape and not get excited, right? I mean, look at it. And yes, I know, we pointed out at the time that this was concept art and that it was highly unlikely that this was a tease for an actual new type of in-game cape model. I know we said that, but deep down, we were hoping. We couldn't shake the belief that maybe, just maybe, Blizz actually was planning a new type of cloak. This type of cloak. Anyway, long story short, here's the model with its normal ass cloak and not the cool off the shoulder one, and yeah, it was just concept art for you. Disappointing, but understandable. I know we all wanted it to be a real thing, but I think at the same time, we all knew it wasn't a real thing, and it's no big deal really. Even the forums totally took it in their stride. They understand the concept of concept art, and honestly, with the ongoing personal loot debate and mooted global cooldown changes, there are genuinely important things to be discussing right now, and no one is going to waste their energy getting upset about something that was never going to. No, it was a shit show, obviously. Lie, 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 lie. Is there anything else you'd like to lie about, Blizzard? Is your name even Blizzard? Well, that's the final straw for me. This expansion can go F itself. You've been selling pre-orders, Blizz. Pre-orders. Hope you're ready for the lawsuit. This expansion was already dead to me, but now it's even more dead to me. RIP, WoW, and me. Still, on the plus side, the rest of the set is pretty badass, really, especially the more simple Tier 2 variant. I mean, it needs more lions, obviously, because Alliance or whatever. Look, if the Horde set can find space for this many spikes, and then put extra spikes on their spikes just to be sure there's enough spikes, you can fit an extra lion or two on this set. There's a war on after all.
A player called Zerev has reportedly completed every single achievement in the game. If WoW is a game where the main purpose is to fill all the bars and make them as green as possible, which obviously we all know it is, then Zerev has won the game, because those bars are very full and very green. Zerev is so good that, seriously, look, they actually have 101% of mission achievements done. I think they call that a Khadgar special. So congratulations, Zerev, because you won World of Warcraft. Or at least, you will once you bother maxing out your Chromie and Talon's Vengeance reputations, you slacker.
And finally, a quick look at the new Battle for Azeroth dungeon, which is now available for testing on the alpha, the Motherlode, which happens in and around Kezan as players take on the Venture Company in fights that are just as full of bombs and robots and missiles and other ridiculousness as you would expect. And actually, this does link in with the Mythic Plus Invitational, because this is a dungeon which appears to have been built with Mythic Plus at the forefront of the design thinking. Because it looks great, as you'd expect, but there's actually very little to this dungeon. An unusual density of trash to plow through, and everything placed and laid out so simply that you can see already how different affixes are going to mean different decisions about how you go about pulling all that trash, especially as that trash has unusually difficult abilities to deal with a lot of the time. In that respect, it reminds me of a another more recent dungeon, the Seat of the Triumvirate. And likewise, the bosses of the Motherlode are very mechanic and reaction heavy too, which makes for a very interesting dungeon in normal circumstances, and likely a really interesting watch in competition too. There are already some rumblings in feedback threads that the Motherlode is too simple and too trash heavy, and granted, I've only played it 3 times, but I had a blast each time, so we're looking forward to seeing how this one evolves. I ain't got time for no more news, Evitel.
Me neither.
No, because we want to hotfoot it to the results of our Argus competition.
Oh yeah.
I haven't been able to sleep. I know you haven't been able to sleep.
I don't know if you can tell, but my eyes are bleeding.
Yeah, because
Literally bleeding.
we launched a competition last episode, 2 weeks ago. Even though this is a weekly show, so I don't know how that happened. And we asked you to take Pyromancer's meme. Well, it wasn't a meme when he made it, but now it is. Of Argus the Maker, and create your own Argus. There's something that probably rhymes a bit with Maker. Yeah, for an example of how to do this brilliantly, I direct you towards Pyromancer's own entry into this competition.
Yeah.
Argus the Salt Shaker, which features Pyromancer himself in the Salt Shaker, shaking the salt.
Shaking the salt.
That is how to do it, guys.
That's how you execute it.
And we had, no joke, because we thought, oh, people have to put some work into this.
Oh yeah.
We probably
were
won't
like,
get that many
nah,
entries.
no
They're probably
one's gonna
quite
bother.
easy. We had 2,000 entries.
Over 2,000.
2,000 emails in the folder, and most of them had between 3 and 4 actual entries in them. So there was
you guys
probably
did not hold back.
My goodness, I'm gonna, at a conservative estimate, say that we had about 4,000 entries.
Yeah.
Which we have looked at every single one.
Every single one of them.
And I'll tell you what, it was the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life.
It was so hard.
Because it turns out there's only about 6 things that actually rhyme with Maker. There's only like 6 words in the world.
They're amazing. They're so brilliant.
And each and every one had your own personal like slant on it, and it was great. And thank you so much.
They're so good.
For everyone who like took the time to create something and send it
seriously.
in, because they are all wonderful. They're all brilliant. We are going to show you the 4 winners who aren't second and first place, and they will receive a prize package from our incredible sort of stock of prizes. And there are so many different prizes that what we're going to do is actually we're going to make a list of all the ones that aren't shared between you, and we're going to send that list to all the winners. You can rank the things that you want in order, and we're essentially going to draw lots, so no one gets something they don't want.
Exactly.
And hopefully all the things you get is stuff that you did want. Thank you so much to Blizzard for sending us all this incredible stuff to send to you. So you may well look at some of these winners and you may think mine was better than that, and it may well have been, but bear in mind our eyes were bleeding.
Yeah.
So I'm really sorry, guys. There's literally no chance that we're going to show you any others apart from the winners.
There's so many.
There's just too many.
But please share them on
Twitter. We still haven't shown all the entries to our ARM competition yet. We're going to probably have to do that at the end of the episode as well. So, right, without further ado, because there has been quite a lot of ado after I said there was going to be no more ado.
So much ado.
Our first, not second or first place winner is
Joey Smee with Argus the Hater.
We had a lot of Argus the Haters, didn't we?
We had a lot of Argus the Haters, but this one...
This one had the most, probably had the most care put into it.
Yeah.
I liked the fact that it was like a YouTube comment or like a tweet or whatever, and it had replies on it, and it was good. I like it.
Brilliant.
A lot of detail in that one. Our second, not first or second place winner is
Nimiar with Argus the Icebreaker.
Again.
We got so many variations on this one.
And some which, in fairness, were a lot more beautiful than this.
That's
and
true.
a lot better photoshopped than this.
But there's something about this one that just, again...
You really like this one,
it just made me chuckle. Yeah. Every time I read it, I was like,
Yeah, I think it was the multiple chuckles that we got from this one.
Yeah.
Our next, not second or first place winner is...
Ayrton Moss with Argus the Crane Operator. Now you might look at this, and be like, what the? But that was our reaction too. But we laugh at this every time.
Literally every time.
I think there's something about how like tiny he is in the distance.
It's so great. I think I've probably, even though this isn't first or second place, I think I have probably laughed at this one more than any of the other ones. Yeah. Like literally every time I look at it, it just makes me laugh. I just really like it. So congratulations, you are a not first or second place winner. And our final not first or second place winner is...
Emma the Incredible with Argus the Matchmaker. Oh boy.
Yeah, this is brilliant. And one which is specific to kind of a British audience as well, I feel. This is from an old game show called Blind Date, which, as you can imagine, was all about setting people up on blind dates, featuring the legendary Cilla Black, who once I saw naked.
Whoa.
IRL.
Wow.
There's a story for the patrons.
Yeah, save that one for another time.
But anyway, that's not why this won. It's because this is just a really nicely photoshopped one. A great idea. This was
really
like
good.
completely unique.
Yes.
This one, which is why we really liked it. So you guys, you are going to get an amazing selection of prizes, including like inflatable war glaives and the art books and other art books and cookbooks.
Cookie cutters.
You're going to get cookie cutters, toys,
So many
Funko
goodies.
Pops, all this stuff you're going to see on screen now, and we will separate that out into little prize packages and we will send them out to the 4 of you. But to
However.
the main event. Second place, who will also get a selection of those shared prizes, but also the much coveted Murloc backpack, which many people will want instead of first place,
It's
I would
very
imagine.
true. So true.
Who is, Evitel, the winner of these prizes?
Marcus Modem
Oh thank God.
with Argus the Baiter.
Again. We had a lot of betas, didn't we?
We had so many betas, but this one took some fresh meme content.
Yeah.
And made it its own thing. And it makes me chuckle.
And
every
in
time
fairness,
I
again,
see it.
wasn't the only person to use that meme.
Exactly.
But just did it really well. We thought,
Yeah.
and we kept coming back to this and kept laughing. So congratulations.
Congrats.
You are second place. And finally, our first place winner, who will win a selection of those shared prizes and an MMO gaming mouse direct from Blizzard, as will the
Sweet.
second place winner, by the way.
Sweet.
And the World of Warcraft Collector's Edition.
Genuinely
Legion.
a great gift. First place goes to Callum Quinn with Argus Linklater, the acclaimed filmmaker.
Okay.
It's not just Argus the filmmaker, it is Argus Linklater, the acclaimed filmmaker.
Filmmaker called Linklater made a film called Boyhood, which this is the poster of.
It's a great
but it's
film.
all Argus
But it's
and stuff,
Titanhood.
and it's great. It's Titanhood, and there's a lot of detail in the poster,
Yeah.
and it was great.
And the name, it's a name and the idea and the execution all in one. This one just like brings a little tear to my eye.
and
every time I think of
the
it.
most unique one that we got as well,
Yes.
which is some achievement
Yeah.
out of 4,000 probable entries,
Yeah.
which is absolutely brilliant, well deserving of your prize, as are all of you, as are everyone else that entered pretty much, because we were chuckling. It took us hours to look through these,
Yeah.
hours of eye-bleeding torture, but it wasn't torture, it was like fun torture, it
Yeah.
was like tickle torture,
Yeah.
you know?
Just like that.
Laughter torture. You invented a new type of torture for us, and we went through it, and it
think-
was kind of nice
Yeah.
and kind of horrible, and thank you. So thank you to all of our entries, thank you to Blizz Entertainment, and congratulations to our winners. And thank you to the great Pyromancer himself for creating the artwork that was turned into the meme that made this competition possible.
Thanks.
Awesome. And thank you for joining us this week. If you liked this episode, don't thank us, thank our patrons who give their actual real life money to make these videos happen. We've been super busy with like life organising and stuff in the last couple of weeks, and we've still managed a video a week, and that's all down to the patrons. If it wasn't for them, there would have been probably no videos in this time. But we should be back on a good schedule now. But thank you guys, you're awesome. If you didn't like it, downvote the shit out of it. Remember, my name is Pyromancer.
Oh,
it could only be
it could only
this episode.
be for this one.
No, my name is Taliesin.
And
From
I'm
me.
Evitel.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah.
We were so close to making it a perfect episode because that was all one take up until that point.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to tell, but yeah, that was
so
like it's like
good.
one of those really
We
really
did like
good
the
movies.
whole episode in one
like,
take.
like an action shot,
Like
where
a
it just,
Linklater type.
like a Linklater type thing.
It's a shame we had to put a cut right at the end there, but
Oh man,
never mind.
ruined it.
Cheerio.